Welcome, everyone. This is Joe Dager, the host of the Business 901 podcast. With me today is Dan Rome. Dan is the author of the international bestseller, The Back of the Napkin, and a host of other books. He teaches you how to use drawing effectively in business. Dan is also the founder of the Napkin Academy, the world's first online visual thinking training program, and the reason we're here today is a discussion about his new book, Draw to Win. Dan, thanks for joining me.
Hey, good morning, Joe. It is a pleasure to be with you.
What's the trick? You know, when you started explaining it to me, I'm into frame of mind to think visually and things like I'm into conversation. You started playing in the neocortex and going through the eyeball and things like that, and automatically that visual popped up in my mind. Okay.
Right.
And we're on the same page because you just about drew what I was thinking. Okay. And then you took it a little bit deeper. I got a lot of things going on in my mind. Okay. You know, let's say when I'm in a sales call or when I'm in a business meeting stuff. And those visuals don't always pop up like that. I was in the frame of mind in this conversation. What helps me get there? I mean, how can I start thinking like Dan Rome? I mean, you think that way.
I love this question. There? Okay. So I think there are a couple answers here. The simplest one of all is when you go into a meeting, and this might seem absurd because it's so basic, bring your tools. Most of us go into a meeting and we say, I'm prepared, I've got it all in here, or I've got my PowerPoint, I'll present it, or I'll print it out and I'll dump it on the desk. And then we start talking. And that's good for a little while. We're doing some banter. We're setting the stage. For me, though, like I'm trying to do with you, I'm constantly listening for you to give me the picture that you're already seeing so I can start to draw it. So when you said, I see an eyeball and a funnel, okay, all I'm doing is riffing off of you now. You gave me that picture. I just captured it. Now, this takes a little bit of practice. It takes a little bit of time. But what I often think about is it's kind of like visual listening. I don't want to get too much into the theory here and craziness, but if you think about it, something like 80% of spoken language is metaphor, meaning we're always talking about kind of visual ideas or allegorical ideas. For example, and I don't want to go too far into this. It'll get academic here in a moment. I don't want to do that. But if you think about, I'm feeling up. The stock market is up. Pull yourself up. The sun is up. People are feeling up today. What are we describing with that word up? The sun is not actually up. The market isn't actually up. I'm not actually feeling up. Up is a vector. It's a direction. It's a thing. It's that. What spoken language does is it takes these sort of metaphors and makes us become aware of how to use them very often. So what I try to do is listen really carefully, kind of listen with my eyes. What is the thing that you're describing to me with words look like? And the easiest way to start it, and this is what I do all the time, is you go into a meeting and you just listen and you say, okay, Mr. Miss Potential Client, can you just tell me a little bit about your company? So you get started. Just tell me a little bit about your business. And they're going to say, so I've got a construction company and we're active in 3 main areas. We build roads, we build bridges, we build garages. Okay, fair enough. And primarily what we do is we do that for the state, and we've got some private invest. So they're telling you. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, they've got a business, construction business, and she just told me they do 3 things. They build roads, they build garages, and they build bridges. So I just capture this. So this is your business, this is your company here, this is you. And you do 3 things. And you do that, you said, for the state. Okay, so you've got a customer out here who's the state. All right, fair enough. So let's just give someone a star. Why not? They represent government. Then you've got some private people over here too that you're building for too. So that's what I draw. That little thing right there is like magic. Because what's happening now is my customer, for the first time probably in a long time, is seeing someone map out their business for them. And then, and all I've done here, by the way, this is the first picture in my little portrait. Joe, is this making any sense? The easiest way to start is just to listen to what someone's saying and try to visually capture it really quick. And that'll take a little practice, but it's not hard. And then you come back to them and say, okay, so your problem, you're telling me, as you listen a little bit further, is that your state client money is dropping. They're no longer funded. So if you want to survive and keep doing these three things, what you're going to need to do is ramp up the business that you're offering to private companies. So how would we do that? And then you start to move into your flow chart. Is this making any sense? Is this answering your question?
Oh, I think it's perfect, because what I take from it is just from the process of making those sketches myself, it provides better clarity about the customer, and also it slows me down to put me in, and to understand him better. I that's what I like about it, is I'm not sitting there racing to think how I'm going to answer him. I'm actually I'm actually getting in his problem, and that's why I always thought that I always accomplished a lot on a sales call when I moved to the same side of the table, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
I want to run with that, Joe.
Those pictures are that.
I think you just nailed it. And we're talking sales now, and there are other processes and other ways that you might use pictures. But if we just focus on sales for a moment, I think from my perspective, you just nailed it. Sit on the same side of the table as your prospect. And, here's a great way to do this, whether you're literally sitting on the same side of the table or not. Be the person who pulls out the piece of paper and with a little practice says, I'm trying to capture what we're talking about. And it does slow it down. And it does show that you're a genius, because you're mapping out something that is not theoretical. Hopefully it's not very complicated. You're just capturing what the person is saying to you, and you're clarifying it in your own mind. And then what you do, and this is, I love your idea of sitting on the same side of the table. I then take the pen and I hand it to you. And I say, Joe, did I get this right? And you might say, well, actually, no. Let me have the pen there, because, I told you we build roads, but actually we really don't. We haven't done that in 10 years. So that's not exactly right. And in fact, what I think is interesting is, although money is dropping for the state, I really don't want to move in this direction. What I want to do is take advantage of the money that is available, because and I'm just making this up now, that if I can build up the bridge part of the business, that budget actually hasn't been cut yet. So the point I'm trying to make is, now you're having a true dialogue, problem solving with your prospect. You started the drawing, you drew 75% of it, and then you hand over the pen. And you do it in a non-threatening way. They've already seen you draw the picture. They already know it's okay. And I've seen, I would say 9.5 times out of 10, when you do that, the person says, well, I can't really draw. And you say, well, I'll do it for you then. What do you think? And they'll say, no, give me the pen. I'll mark it up.
Yeah. Well,
and now you've got the truth.
After I read your book, Back in the Napkin, I started the workshops I do. I started playing like a 2-3 minute TED video with Suni Brown talking about doodling. And I always had a blank workbook sheet to start out. Okay, where with a couple faces and a couple figures on it that everybody had to doodle to get the workshop started. Okay,
there you go. Perfect.
And I said, okay, now, all right, is it your responsibility to doodle the rest of the day through the workshop? Okay, that's the one thing you have to do.
And how did people respond?
And they actually had fun. I actually had people draw doodles and stuff like that up on the whiteboard, in the first break and everything, and draw some pictures and stuff like that. Is that they got into it, and I can't say that everybody did it. I had some stick in the muds there.
Yeah.
But
what I thought,
but a lot of people did.
Well, and so I'm not happy. I'm not happy, Joe, when at the end of one of my work sessions, if everybody isn't up at the board drawing, then I'm not happy. I have not done my job. I don't want those stick in the muds, that percent that just, I'm not going to do it. This is childish. This is patronizing. This is not serious. This isn't what I'm here to do. I'm not happy unless I've got everybody up there doing this. So I tend to add another layer on top of what you're talking about, the kind of the doodling as a warm-up exercise. And the layer I add in is the process and the methodology. Use this 6x6 tool problem. So what I will do is I'll put on my serious face. Because heaven forbid in a serious business setting that anybody's having any fun. I mean, that would be the last thing we'd want to have happen. And I'm facetious because in fact what happens is everybody has a great time. Is walk them through the process and say, okay, there is a process. It's neuromechanically based. That's where this comes from. That's why this works. It's this set of steps. You can follow it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with me, step by step, let's work a problem. And we go through it. So they are doodling, and I would even call it, we're doing guided methodology-based doodling. If that sounds crazy, like a contradiction, it's actually not. Because what we're doing is that part of your mind that wants to be visual, you're now giving it a structure and a framework to work from so that it can be successful. Your visual mind can find its voice, if you will. Does that make any sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. And you've done a wonderful job, okay, explaining things. And especially to my lean group of people, because I've always quoted this and used this for years, is that, you're not lean if you're not visual. And, and that is, a perfect way to go. I thought Draw to Win was a great book for sales, for marketing, and even for the executive. We need to get those guys sketching, right? Even at this
absolutely.
And that. So,
well, Joe,
tell me where I can find the book, and and where's the best place to contact you, and just throw in and give me a plug about the Napkin Academy, okay? Because
okay, so the easiest way to reach me is really simple. It's simply dan@danrome.com. If you can read that, dan@danrome.com. And that's my email address. danrome.com is the easiest place to find me online, and everything that we're talking about will be there. And the Napkin Academy. So napkinacademy.com, all one word. In fact, let me write it out right now so that people can see that. It is NAPKIN academy.com. That is, there you have it right there, napkinacademy.com. That is, as you mentioned earlier, my online visual thinking training school. I've started it almost 5 years ago now. We've had about 3,500 people who've become card-carrying members. I did an account once from 43 countries around the world. It's really great. It's a paid service. It's a subscription service. You pay a minimal fee every month. You pay me $19 a month. And what you get for that is you have my entire set of all 5 books available in video lessons. The video lessons vary in length from 15 to 25, 30 minutes. Each lesson is me live drawing, taking you through one aspect of visual communication. There are many, many of those lessons available now. We have an active community. People have homework assignments. Once every 3 weeks to get together online, and we do a review of each other's work. I introduce a new lesson. It's really great. I really, really enjoy it. And our community it's a tight group of people that are exploring from different parts of the world and different businesses and industries how we can bring these tools to bear in what we do. I encourage people to take a look. I think you'll like it.
I think it's an exciting opportunity for people to take a look at the Napkin Academy, but I would first tell them to start winning by reading the book
Drawing to Win.
Okay.
Very good.
I would like to thank you very much, Dan, and I hold you in high regards and think you've done a great job, okay, through the last 10 years that I've followed you. So privileged to have you as a guest.
Joe, thank you. It's been fun to be here.
This podcast will be available on Business 901 iTunes Store. Look for some YouTube excerpts on it, and of course the Business 901 blog site. So thanks everyone for listening.